Welcome. The topic we'll be discussing in today's session is process scheduling. So, why should we schedule process? The operating system schedule process to ensure the maximum CPU utilization because CPU is the important resource in a computer and it should be used in an effective way and to ensure that process scheduling is done. The process scheduler is the one which selects the next instruction to be executed by the processor. And to do this, the process scheduler maintains several types of queues. So what are the queues the scheduler maintains? That we'll be discussing now. So the first type of queue it maintains is called as job queue. The job queue is the one which contains all the process that are currently in the system. So it contains all the process that are currently in the system. And then we have ready queue. The ready queue is the one which contains the process which are ready for execution. The ready queue contains the processes which were ready for execution. They are just waiting for CPU to be assigned. And then we have the third type of queue which is called as device queues. So if any process is waiting for any IO device like hard disk or printer, then these process will be in the device queues. Say for example, there is a process P1 and this process want to access the IO device hard disk, but hard disk is already getting accessed by some other process P2. Then until P2 finished accessing, it should wait. So for that, there is a queue, and that queue is called as device queue. Okay. So for different device, there will be different queues. So for hard disk, there will be a different device queue. So whichever the process waiting for the hard disk will be waiting in that queue. And for printer, there will be a different device queue. So the processes that were waiting for the printer will be waiting in that device queue. And during its lifetime, the process can move from one queue to another queue. So this diagram shows like how these various queues are managed by the operating system. So basically operating system uses linked list to maintain these queues. So you can see there are different types of linked list is here. Say, say this is a ready queue. Okay. So this particular thing is a ready queue. The first queue what we are discussing is a ready queue. So this, I mean this is a ready queue. So what this ready queue contains? So basically it is a linked list. So it contains two pointer, the head pointer and the tail pointer. The head pointer points to the first process and the tail pointer will point to the last process. Currently the ready queue contains two processes. What are they? It contains process 2 and process 7 and process 2. So the respective PCB, process control block, it is referring. So process control block includes all information about a process. Like we have discussed about this in the last class. It includes the process ID and it includes the registers. Okay, it includes all other information about a particular process. Okay, so there is similarly all these are device queues. All these are device queues for various devices. So the first device is magnetic tape unit 0. So here it is assumed that the system has two magnetic tapes. Uh, so the first is called as unit 0 and the second one is called as unit 1. So, so head is pointing to null. Okay. Tail is also pointing to null. It means the queue is empty. Currently no device is using the magnetic tape. Okay. Magnetic tape unit 0. Similarly, no device is using the magnetic tape unit 1. So here also head is pointing to null and tail is pointing to null. And this is disk, maybe hard disk. So hard disk, there are three devices are in the queue. Three processes are in the queue. Process 3, process 14 and process 16. Okay, so all these are in the queue. Maybe the disk may be currently executing the process which is pointed by head. So that is process 3. Okay, and these are the respective process control block. And here also there is a head pointer and the tail pointer. The head pointer points to the first process and the tail points to the last process. Okay. And there is a uh, and uh, and this is terminal. Terminal means your terminal. This is terminal. Terminal in the sense monitor. Okay, terminal means monitor. So basically it is a display device. So how many processors are waiting to use the display device? So all the processors that were waiting to use the display device will be kept in this particular queue, terminal queue. Okay, so currently there is only one process which is using the terminal, which is PCB5. So this process is pointing to this process is not so the next pointer of this particular process control block 5, next it is not pointing to anywhere else, it is pointing to null. And here both the head and tail are pointing to the same process control block of which corresponds to process 5, because this itself is the first process and this itself is the last process. So this is how the operating system maintains the different queue, and it ensures that process scheduling is done in a proper way. Okay, fine. Okay, so this diagram shows like how the process moves from one queue to another queue. So, so initially the job is coming from. So you can assume that here, we have job queue. Okay, job queue is nothing but all the process in the system is represented by the job queue. Okay, here you can say that here we have something called as job queue. Okay, so the processes will be one by one, it will be moved from job queue to uh, ready queue. Okay, depending on the empty space in the ready queue. So the process in the ready queue are ready for execution, and it will be allocated CPU whenever their turn comes, and it will be executed. And the process which is running, if it want to perform any IO operation, then it will place an IO request to the operating system. If the IO request is accepted, then it will enter into IO queue. IO queue is nothing but device queue. So IO represents device, any IO device. It will enter into the IO queue or the device queue. Okay. So it will enter into this particular queue because more than one device may request this particular IO. Okay. And then when there are no more device, or if this is the uh, when there are no more process waiting for this particular IO, then this particular process will be given access, and it will access the IO device, and it will perform the IO operation. Once the IO operation is completed, again it will enter into ready queue. Okay, so this is the case with respect to IO operation. Similarly, an executing process, if it time expires, for every process there will be a time slice. Maybe we may say that process 1 should execute for 3 millisecond, process 2 should execute for 4 millisecond, process 3 should execute for 6 millisecond, and something like that. Okay. So if for a particular process, if its time slice has expired, then it will then after executing that much amount of time, it will directly move into the ready queue, because it should wait for the next round of CPU allocation. Okay, it will continue until the process completely executed. Sometimes a process may create a child process. Sometimes a running process can create a child process, and child process are created in Unix using a command called fork. Using a command called fork, the child process can be created. So if the running process creates a child process, then it will wait until the child finishes execution. Okay, then it has to wait until the child finishes execution. So during that time, also it will be in the wait queue. Okay, and then once the child completed execution, it will again go back to the ready queue. Okay, or sometimes when a process is being executed, some interrupt may happen. Okay, some interrupt may happen. So because of this interrupt, the process may have to wait until the interrupt get completed. Okay, then once the interrupt is over, once again it will go back to ready queue. Okay, so like this, during the lifetime, the process may move from different states, and for each states there may be different queues. Okay, like this it will keep continuing. How long it will continue? In the sense, until the process finishes execution. So, so this is called as the queuing diagram, which represents different queues and resource flows. Fine. Then we'll discuss different types of schedulers that are normally available in an operating system. An operating system basically supports two types of schedulers. The first one is called as short-term scheduler. The next one is called as long-term scheduler. So first we will try to understand what is a short-term scheduler. Short-term scheduler is also called as CPU scheduler. Short-term scheduler is otherwise called as CPU scheduler. So these are the scheduler, or it is also called as dispatcher. There is another name for short-term scheduler which is also called as dispatcher. So these are the scheduler which moves the process from ready queue to the processor. Okay, so short-term scheduler is the one which moves the process from the ready queue to the processor. That is, it is the one which assigns processor with a particular process, and this scheduler should work uh, at a very higher speed because it will be invoked very frequently. So it should work at a very higher speed, because if you take a typical CPU, the CPU may execute a particular process for very few time, maybe 50 milliseconds or 100 milliseconds. Okay, which is a very small amount of time. So within that time, immediately the scheduler should, once that 50 millisecond is over, the scheduler should bring the next job to the processor. Okay, so this should work very fastly, and it will be invoked very frequently. So this scheduler should be designed in such a way that it should be able to operate in a at a higher speed. Okay, say for example, a job needs uh, a job will be assigned to a processor for 100 milliseconds. Assume that is, the processor will execute a process for 100 milliseconds. Okay, or let us assume for each process, this particular processor, it will before context switching each time, it will execute for 100 milliseconds. Okay, now let us say that it takes 10 milliseconds for the short term scheduler to decide which process should be next assigned to the processor. It takes 10 milliseconds for the short term scheduler to decide which process should be assigned to the processor. Okay, so in that case what happens in the sense, how much percentage of time is getting wasted. So how can we calculate this? How much percentage of the time is getting wasted? So the time which is getting wasted is, it is wasted in the sense, the time at which the CPU is not being utilized, because the scheduler is making the decision like which process should be moved into the which process should be allocated to the processor. So how much time is getting wasted in the sense, it is equal to 10 by 100 plus 10, 10 by 110, which is equal to 0 0.09. Okay, is equal to 0.09, that is 9 percentage of uh, CPU time is getting wasted here. Okay, 9 percentage of CPU time is getting wasted here, because during that time CPU is not getting utilized. Okay, so now you can understand like at what rate this scheduler should be working. It should be working at a very high speed, right? Okay, so the second type of schedule that we have is called as long term scheduler. The long-term scheduler, these are the scheduler which moves the processes from the hard disk to the ready queue. Okay, short-term scheduler, what it does, it assigns the process from ready queue to the processor. Okay, whereas long-term scheduler is the one which moves the processes from uh, from the hard disk to the ready queue. Okay, so the long-term scheduler is the one which decides the degree of multi-programming, and these scheduler will not be invoked frequently, so they need not be as fast as the short-term scheduler. and this controls the degree of multi-programming. Multi-programming in the sense how many the process can run simultaneously. So that will be decided by the long-term scheduler. Okay. So short-term scheduler is the one which assigns the processor, which assigns the process to the processor. Okay, the process in the ready queue to the processor, and it should work at a very faster speed, and it will be invoked more frequently. And long-term scheduler is the one which moves processes from the hard disk to the ready queue. They will be invoked less frequently and they need not be that fast. And this controls the degree of the multi-programming that is this scheduler decides like how many process the particular processor can execute simultaneously. Okay. And in some cases there may be the third type of scheduler which is called as medium term scheduler. Okay. So yeah, before going to medium term scheduler, let us discuss something else, which is called as a process can be of two types. A process can be of two types, either IO bound process or it may be CPU bound process. Okay, what is an IO bound process? IO bound process in the sense it spends most of the time in IO operation. IO bound processes, it spends most of its time in performing IO operation. Okay, say a particular process totally it needs 200 milliseconds to execute. That the total time required by this particular process is 200 milliseconds. But let us assume that out of this 200 milliseconds, it is spending 150 milliseconds in IO operation. Okay, then such a process will be called as IO bound process, because during its entire lifetime, it is spending more time in IO operation. And similarly, there is another type of process which is called a CPU bound process, which spends more time on computation. Okay, the CPU bound process are the one which spends more time on performing computations. Okay, so what does it mean? Say let us assume there is a process again which requires totally 250 milliseconds. So this particular process it totally requires 250 milliseconds. But let us assume that out of these 250 milliseconds, 200 milliseconds it spends on performing computation operation. Remaining 50 milliseconds may be on IO operation or something. So such process is called as CPU bound process. Okay. So now what the scheduler should do? Scheduler should ensure that at any point of time, scheduler should ensure that at any point of time, the ready queue contains a good mix of IO bound process and CPU bound process. Okay. There should be a good mix of IO bound process and CPU CPU bound process. Okay. So it is not that all processes are IO bound. That should not happen. All the process in the ready queue is IO bound. That should not happen. Similarly, all the process in the uh, ready queue or CPU bound, that should not happen. So long-term scheduler should ensure this. Why it should ensure that? If all the processes were IO bound, then what will happen? Then what will happen in the sense, most of the time these processes will spend in IO operation. Most of the time these processes will spend in IO operation. So CPU will be idle. CPU will be idle. So in that case, CPU will be underutilized. So CPU will be idle for most of the time. So it means that you are underutilizing the CPU. Okay. On the other hand, if most of the processes were CPU bound, then what will happen? In most of the time, CPU, the processors will be spending on computation. The processors will be spending on computation, and the IO devices will be idle, or the IO devices will be underutilized. Okay, so both should not happen. CPU also should not be underutilized, and IO devices also should not be underutilized. So either thing should not happen. Okay, to ensure that, the long-term scheduler should make sure that at any point of time, the ready queue contains a good mix of CPU bound process and IO bound processes. Okay. So next, in some operating systems or some processor may support another type of scheduler which is called as medium term scheduler. So this scheduler is used to decrease the degree of multi-programming. Okay. So long-term scheduler controls the degree of multi-programming, whereas medium-term scheduler is used to decrease the degree of multi-programming. So basically why it is used, in the sense it is used to remove certain process from the ready queue, or the process that are allocated to the CPU to hard disk. Okay, it may swap out few process to the hard disk. Okay, and later after a period of time it may swap in. So this process is called as swapping. So this process is called as swapping, removing process from memory and storing it on disk, and again bringing it back when it is required. So sometimes if you want to say, sometimes your computer is getting very slow because of so many processes in the ready queue, so then the operating system may decide to swap some process. So this swapping will be done by a particular scheduler, and that scheduler is called as medium term scheduler. What it will do, it will remove either the currently executing process and keep it in the hard disk, or it may remove some of the process in the ready queue and move it to the hard disk, and later again the system speed increased considerably, it may swap in. So this process is called as swapping, and that will be done by a particular scheduler, and that scheduler is called as medium term scheduler. Okay, so these are the different types of scheduler: long term scheduler, short term scheduler, and medium term scheduler. And also here we have discussed what is meant by CPU bound process and what is meant by IO bound process. Okay. Thank you.